Good morning, top of morning to you. This morning we're going to cover my favorite subject. It's called rejection. And a little humor aside, let me just say that rejection can come in different levels. If it means a mate that we're disappointed with and grow to be different and separate, well, we can find a girlfriend, boyfriend, short period later most of the time. But when rejection comes in a new job or starting a business, then that can sometimes cause us not to make money, make a living, and that really can be hurtful. My career as a professional started when I was 20 years old in the book business with the Southwestern Company, who have been started since 1868, and that entailed working 78 to 80 hours a week, facing houses, doors slammed so loud many times that the windows would rattle. How does a person continue to get up? Did I wake up at 6:30 in the morning looking forward to knocking on doors, starting at 8 o'clock, going to 9 at night? No, I didn't. I was looking for a goal, and I found that goal. And of course, we all want to be happy. I know one of my great friends, his name was Cabot Robert, he once said that there's a sign on all of our backs, make me feel important. Well, being successful makes a person feel important. And being successful in the book business meant that you had to hit a lot of houses. I don't know of any profession that's more intense, more difficult than knocking on doors and selling books. Well, that's what I did for my first 4 years in college, and then 2 years after that. It was a great opportunity to learn how to handle rejection. And what we learn 99% of the time is that we look at pleasing results and not pleasing methods. Successful people are interested in pleasing results always, whereas failures are interested in pleasing methods. And that's why they grow bored, many times lonely, and they change professions quite often. Well, that was not my case because I never quit. Well, the many doors that were slammed in my face just led me to the next house. There was one time that I knocked on a door that first summer up in Dixon, Illinois, and the guy stepped out on the porch, grabbed me by the arm, and escorted me down the driveway to the street and simply said, with a dirty look in his face, "Do not come back to this house anymore." Well, I was a 20-year-old and never had been taught that way by a stranger. I went to the local street corner and cried. I didn't know that people would talk that way to a stranger. Well, before I left that summer, I was in the parking lot at Nashville, which is where the sales school was. And my daddy dropped me off in that parking lot, and he put his arm around me, looked me square in the face, and said, "Doug, we really love you. We're awful proud of you. And you're going to be a big, successful businessman someday." He was looking a very serious look in my face, and that really excited me. I never forgot that look all summer long. So regardless of how difficult the book business was, and then on Sundays, we would always have the 20 of us or so that was in the local areas selling, have a Sunday meeting. And that first 2 Sundays, I was the very last. They set people according to how you rank that week in sales. And I was the last of the 20. And I made up my mind at that time I would never be last ever again after those first 2 weeks. And I never was. I was close to last, but I wasn't last. Well, happiness comes from helping other people live a better life, we have found. We all want to be happy. And the secret to being happy is adding value to the lives of others. So rejection is not as devastating if we're thinking about service to others, either through a product, idea, or service. And because of that, it motivates us to keep going when the going really gets tough. It's often been said that when fear knocked on faith's door, faith opened the door and no one was there. What we're really saying is that when you face the things you fear, the death of fear is certain. And fear promotes rejection. And we see that rejection also coincides with fear. And if you can deal with fear, then you can deal with rejection, always. And this is the thing that drives people past those levels of turning back. Oh, maybe I just wasn't cut out for this. Or my daddy tried this and he wasn't successful. And they told me at school that I couldn't do well, so I guess they were right. No, rather than adopting those levels of thoughts, we keep our mind on our purpose. We keep our goals in mind. Every time a door slammed or somebody was nasty to me verbally, it motivated me. And as previously I have mentioned that after about 3 weeks, we would lose a third of our well-trained students. They went home. Well, that motivated me because I had kept my mind on the goal and not worried about others and their willingness to go home, catch that Greyhound bus. I didn't do that. I didn't believe that way. And rejection is never far apart from fear. And if you learn to control the fear, then you can control the rejection. And we think about what we're going to become and not so much about the circumstance at the time. Because successful people, as I've already said, are interested in pleasing results. They think about the results. Focus on the results. Yes, there will be mistakes. There will be times of discouragement. But we learn from those times of discouragement. We don't let those times be the ultimate recognition of our profile, our self-profile. And so that's why that when I went out and sold books, I kept going. It wasn't because I was such a brilliant salesman. I've had to deal with dyslexia all my life. But the first 4 summers that I was in the business, I graduated from college and I had a little over 25,000 savings, and this was in 1969. Well, 25,000 in savings equivalent now is 172,000. How many college students do you know that paid their way through school and had 172,000 in cash after the school because of the jobs they worked on in the summertime? I was also awarded the #1 salesman my 4th and 5th year. And the 4th year, I was the team leader, #1 team leader and #1 salesman, which was a record for the company, had never been achieved. And it started, as I mentioned, in 1868. So it wasn't because I was such a brilliant salesman or this phenomenal with people. It was because I played by the rules, I focused on the rules and didn't focus on my own self-nature, weaknesses within myself. And this is what people do that cause themselves not to complete the job, not to fulfill their dreams. And they're focusing on the wrong things in life. But now, it's obvious that the way to face rejection is not to quit. And so many times we have the idea that quitting and going to something else would be a better life. We learn that we should never leave anything to get away from. We leave to go to something that's better and has the same opportunities, but a higher level of achievement. As we've mentioned previously, the reach should always be further than the grasp, and we shall never stop learning and earning at the same time. And this is something that provides the opportunities that we had never dreamed of before. I had a great set of parents that helped build a foundation of belief within myself. Daddy was a very much of a disciplined type person, but it's an opportunity that I had, because if I would do something wrong as a young boy, I would definitely get a severe spanking. He never spanked me with a belt, but he spanked me with his hand. And when I was crying in bed, he would come and put his hand on my back and say, "Now, Doug, you know you did wrong. You're not supposed to talk to your mother that way. But now you know that I love you, and I'll never stop loving you." He was a very strict disciplinarian, but he was also a very loving individual. And he told me that he was proud of me when I had the paper route and earned my own money. And then when I went out to the book business, he also told me he was proud of me. Mother had a different approach. She was a very loving type individual, and I could have spit in her face, and of course I wouldn't have, and she would have wiped it off and hugged me. Now, I wouldn't have been able to sit down for 3 weeks after Daddy got through with me, you understand. But what I learned most from my parents, and I've been asked in the past, what did you learn and what did you take the most from your parents? What I learned was unconditional love. And a household with unconditional love is something that a young person can build a base from. I know there's many times that parents might say, and raising children today is a very difficult challenge. There's no question about it. But now parents can sometimes say, well, they know I love them. I don't need to tell them I love them. I'm feeding them every day and providing them a place to stay, so obviously I love them. No, that's not good enough. That isn't what we need to do as fulfilling parents. Yes, they may know that you love them, but it's important that you tell them that you love them. You tell them most of all what they want to hear is that I'm proud of you. So when they come home with a good grade, you don't just look at it and say, great, but you want to say, I'm awful proud of you. I'm awful proud of you. You did a great job. And that makes us go through the roof mentally. And that's what I was raised with. Now, those circumstances of which all of us were not raised with parents of the nature I just described, you can still turn your life around and start a motivating force of success by realizing that you have a goal, you have an ambition, you are a special person, you are one of 7.6 billion people on the face of the planet, and nobody is like you. Nobody has the capabilities that you have. And you are a very special individual that nobody can replicate, just like you. And take pride in that, understand that, capture that, so you don't let rejection hold you back. You know, rejection doesn't have to hold you back. You can still be a superstar individual. Yes, there will be failures. The Michael Jordans of the world had 122 shots that he missed, and there were 20 of them that were game-winning shots. But he didn't let those points of rejection, those points of failure hold him back, and he's deemed as the greatest basketball player of all times. And what are the takeaways to all of what we're saying here? One is, don't allow rejection to take over your life. Acknowledge that you will make mistakes and learn from them. Write down what you learn so that you won't do them again. Another is, every setback can be a setup for a greater comeback. It doesn't mean that it's down there, you're down there permanently. Unconditional love from a parent or parents can be a very fulfilling difference in a person's life. And when you face the things you fear, you realize that the death of fear is certain. Don't run away from fears. Don't let fear cause rejection or rejection cause fear in your challenges. And a very important of what Dale Carnegie once said, inaction breeds doubt and fear. Action breeds confidence and courage. If you want to conquer fear, do not sit home and think about it. Go out and get busy. It's never a problem or never a setback to try and fail. The setback is failing to try. And so you are important. You are a special individual. If you've faced rejection and rejection has caused you to stumble ever in building a business or building a life, pick up a copy of my book, The Winning Advantage. Tap into your richest resources, and it will give you the roadmap, the guidelines to help conquer fear, to help you take on challenges and overcome any kind of setbacks that occur. It's been a pleasure. Talk to you in the morning. Use your talents, embrace your abilities, and pick up a copy of my book. Click the link on my website, thewinningadvantage.com, and purchase one of my books on Amazon. See you next week, Tuesday, 9 o'clock.